guys, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Shavonne and welcome. I'd love it if you went ahead and hit that subscribe button and click the notification bell. That way you don't miss out on any of my story times or my eyeshadow tutorials. Also, before I begin, down below in the description box, I will have listed all the makeup, lashes, and hair that I'm wearing today, along with my website, www.tlavishhair.com. And also, before I start this story, I want to go ahead and add a trigger warning because this story does involve domestic assault or domestic abuse, whichever you'd like to call it. So for those that may be triggered by this video, I'm going to give y'all a chance to go ahead and click off this video as of now. So we go ahead and give y'all time. And for those who have decided to stay and listen, then let's begin the story. So this story begins back when I used to live in New Orleans. But I moved out to the Bayou. So when I moved out to the Bayou, I was living in a town called Crown Point. Some of my friends who watch my video, who know me from New Orleans or know me from Louisiana, they will absolutely know where Crown Point is. Crown Point is Bayou. The house I lived in was literally, we had a small street. I don't even believe two cars could probably pass by without kind of leaning in each ditch to get by. But I lived right across the road from the main park there, and if you walked out my house, I lived in a yellow house and it had a fence around it, and if you walked out my gate, you could turn to the right and the bayou was right there. So I'd say probably about 50-70 feet, the bayou just ran right there, and then the boat launch was on the other side of the park. So let me not confuse everybody. Let's say my house was here. If you walked out my front door, straight across the street was the park. On the other side of the park was the boat launch, and if you made a right and walked 50 to 70 feet, the bayou was right there. So now that I've kind of set the scene or whatever for you, I was dating this guy. I don't know if I want to use his, I might as well go ahead and use his first name, because if he sees this video, he's going to know I'm talking about him. And if the people in the bayou that I hung out with, they're going to know because they knew both of us. And it's also document, DA, everything else. So you can look it up. I'm not telling any lies here. So we're going to call him Tony, which is his first name. So Tony and I were dating. And I think I'd lived in Crown Point for roughly almost 8 months or so. But at the time, I think I was about 7 months so far there. So that day, he had to go and bury his grandfather. He was super close to his grandfather. And I didn't really know too much about all the details of the funeral because I wasn't able to go. I had to work. But once the funeral was over and I got off from work, he called me. He's like, hey, you know, I'm home, blah, blah, blah. He just lived right around the corner from me. So I went over to his house. His parents and stuff are there, and then we were talking and everything. He was really upset, and he was saying how he didn't know he was going to have to be a pallbearer and carry his grandfather's casket, and he said he didn't really want to say anything to his family, but he said it really tore him up. So he was super upset. And one thing about Tony is he's okay when he's drinking beer, but when he drinks liquor, it's like Jekyll and Hyde. So just know that I just told you that. So later on that day, because the funeral I believe was in the morning, later on that day he said, well, I want to go out, I want to go have some drinks tonight or whatever. I was like, oh, where do you want to go? And there's this club I had never been before called Honey's. But I had heard about Honey's, and everything I heard about Honey's was that people go there to fight. They go there to get drunk, and there's always fights. And I told him that is not the place for you to be if you're upset already. You just buried your grandfather. You don't need to go out there drinking because it's going to end up in a fight. And I'm not about that drama. I don't deal with that stuff. I try to avoid it like the plague and whatnot. So I told him, I said, well, let's go to this daiquiri shop, because the daiquiri shop had pool tables, had 2 pool tables in there, I believe. And then it's like the frozen daiquiris with the drive-through daiquiri shops. If you've been to Louisiana, you know Louisiana has drive-through daiquiri shops. That's just what it is. You know, it is what it is in Louisiana. So this daiquiri shop had like a little bar you could go in and sit at, and then it had 2 pool tables. And the girl who worked behind the counter grew up with him. Like they went to high school, I guess, in junior high together. And plus the people who went there, they were kind of like old cats, you know, that knew his family and that saw him grow up. So I told him, I was like, if you want to go have some drinks, let's just go to that daiquiri shop, because at least you'll be surrounded by people who know that your grandfather passed away, and can comfort you. You know, at least you'll be around people who love and care about you and things like that. So he said, okay, fine. So we drove to the daiquiri shop. We were in there, we're doing okay. I was playing a little pool with a couple of the OGs or whatnot, and then he was playing pool with one of the other guys, and I went up to the counter to get us a drink. So I told the girls, like, give him, I believe it was like a Bud Light or something, Budweiser or something, and I said, well, just give me, I'll take a shot real quick. So he was over there playing pool, and I thought, okay, well, I'm gonna take this shot. He's not gonna see me take the shot of liquor, because then he was gonna want, I knew he was gonna want a shot if he saw me take one. So I told her to give me like a Bud Light or something, and then give me a shot. So she gave me a shot, did a shot, and I was drinking some of my Bud Light, and I took his beer over to him. Well, I ended up going to the bathroom, and when I come back out, she had 2 shots sitting on the bar, like double shots, and she said, here, this shot's for you. Tony paid for this. And he's sitting next to me. He's sitting like right next to me. So I said, well, whose shot is this? She's like, well, and she wouldn't even look at me. She looked down at the ground. Then I looked at Tony, and he just kind of like looked around, like nobody said anything. And I knew she had poured this shot for him. And she, of all people, knew how he was when he drank liquor. Because I even reminded her too. I said, don't give him any liquor, because you know he can't handle it. Like, he just does not do well with liquor. She's like, oh, don't worry about it. And I come back, and she's got 2 double shots sitting there. So the older guy at one of the tables, he's like, hey, you want to come play another game with us? And when I turned, I was like, yeah, I'll be there in a minute. And I turned back, he was setting his shot glass down. So I was like, oh, here we go. And I looked at her, I'm not gonna lie, I gave her the most drop dead and one of the most cruelest, downright drop dead where you stand looks when I saw that she went ahead and gave him that shot, and he did it. But I couldn't do anything about it. He's a grown man, whatever. So after that, he went to play pool with the other guy. So I'm playing pool, he's playing pool. And next thing I know, I walk off, and I'm talking to one of the girls there. And he comes up to me, and he's got the pool stick, and he's like twisting the pool stick like this. And I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm about to swing this pool stick and knock this old man out, blah, blah, blah. I said, what? Why? He's like, because he keeps winning. I said, well, if you can't handle losing that pool, I said, these guys used to go to Vegas and play pool. Like, they were professional pool players. I said, if anything, ask them questions, learn from them, think of them as a mentor or something like that. If you keep getting your butt whooped, then ask them questions, you know. I mean, anybody to ask is someone who played professional pool in their younger years. So he's like, oh, I'm just ready to just swing this stick. I'm going to take him out. And then after that, I knew he had definitely done a couple more shots that she had slid to him or whatever. So before that all happened, I was like, listen, let's just go. We can go back to my place, let's go to the house, and we can chill there. I'll get you a crack your beer. We can sit on the porch, you know, or go down to the bayou and just kind of hang out and fish or whatnot. So he was like, okay. So we told everybody bye. We got in my car, and I'm driving. And at the time I had a Honda Accord. I think it was a Honda Accord EX. It was a coupe. So it was like a two-door coupe. It had a sunroof, leather interior, and I had just put this new radio in there that had like a TV screen. So we could, it would fold down. You could put CDs in, but you could put CDs in that played music and videos. So when you put the CD in, the face would come back up, and you could watch the whole video on the little TV screen and listen to the music. So I just put that radio in my car, and it was also stick shift. So we're coming back from a daiquiri shop, and I can't remember what the name of the road is before you make that left to go in the small neighborhood of Crown Point, but you're kind of going up over a bridge. And he's pissed off, and I could see like he's grinding his teeth, and he had this, I don't know, he just had this look on his face, and I knew it was bad, and I was just like trying to keep him calm. So I said, go ahead and put a CD in, and I had just bought the Wiz Khalifa's Rolling Papers CD, and let me tell you, I love that CD. I still love that CD. And so he put that CD in, and we were kind of like chilling, you know, we're driving or whatnot, and he kept reaching for my emergency brake, and he would slowly pull it up a little bit, and finally I was just like, Tony, stop. I said, I'm driving a stick shift, one, and you can't just keep pulling that up. I said, you're going to make us wreck on this bridge. So he got pissed off because I told him to stop pulling on my emergency brake. So I made that left to go in the neighborhood in Crown Point, and we were coming around. So let's say the park is here and my house is over here. So the road we had to go down was this one right here. So it's a road right next to the park, and the boat launch was over there. And then you had to make a right and go around a block, and then my house was on that side of the park. So we're coming around the house, so we're coming down by the park, and he just snaps. He starts yelling, he starts cussing me out, blah, blah, blah. I was like, listen, you need to calm down. I understand you're upset about your grandfather. I understand you're upset about your grandfather. I said, but you need to calm down. I said, you shouldn't have been drinking that liquor anyway. That liquor is the devil to you. Well, you can't tell me what. I said, I know I can't tell you what to do. And after that, I knew talking to him was just making it worse. So I just stopped talking. So we pulled up in front of my house. I had to get out to go open the gate in order to pull my car into the driveway. So we pulled in front of my house, and I had pulled the emergency brake up and turned the key off. And he starts raging. He snatches my radio and yanks it out of my dash and then throws it out the window. And I'm like, what the F, you know? So I turned the key off. I jumped out the car and I ran around to get my radio. Because I'm like, listen, I got that Wiz Khalifa CD in there. I was like, I know the radio's broke, but I still want my CD. So I ran around there to get my CD, and he's called me every black bee and all kinds of stuff. He runs around to my driver's side, swings the door open, pops the hood, and grabs my spark plugs and starts yanking them out of my car. So I go over to him and I kind of push him to the side and slam my hood down, and then I lock my car door. And I start speed walking. I went to the gate, I saw the gate open, I'm speed walking. So I'm like, I gotta get in the house, like I lock the door, and then it's whatever. I'll let him deal with his anger elsewhere. So I go through the gate and I walking real fast up to my door, and my front porch was really, really small. It wasn't even really a porch. It was more like concrete steps, and then it was like maybe 3 foot of concrete. It was like 3 foot in length, and then like in width it was probably like 2 foot or so. It was real, real small, just so you can get up to the house. And below the steps was all concrete, because that's where my septic tank was. So I'm going up the steps, and it's probably about 4 steps up, so it's probably about 2.5, 3 foot to the ground. He jumps up from the side and he gets in front of me. So he's blocking my front door, and he's like, open the door. And the look in his eyes, I knew not to open that door, because I was like, if I go in this house, no telling what's going to happen to me. And there's no one going to be there to witness it. There's no one going to be there to help me. And I noticed that over at the boat launch, when we were coming around the corner, there was about 3 boats, and there was tons of people out there. They were pulling their boats in to put them back on their trailers and stuff like that. So I knew there was people standing out there. So I was like, maybe if something happens, then somebody's going to help me. And most of them were guys, too. There was a few women there. So I said no, and he's like, I said open the door. So I had my keys in my hand, I put them behind my back, and I said no. And when I said that, he pushed me full force, and I just went flying. And when I hit the pavement down below, which I said is where my septic tank was, I hit it so hard that it knocked me out of my Nikes. And my arm, I was laying on my arm, so this arm was pent. This is the only arm I had free. He dives down off, and he's literally boxing me out. Just boxing me out nonstop. And he ended up breaking these teeth over here I had to get fixed. Boxing me out, and I remember thinking that I am not going to let my kids know I died this way. And I'm screaming for help, like, help me, help me. And the people at the boat launch are like watching this. And nobody's calling the police. Nobody's running over trying to help me. They're just standing there watching this, which is absolutely ridiculous. So when I saw no one was coming over to help me, it was like fight or flight time. So like I said before, last thing I thought was like, I am not going to let my kids know I died this way. So this arm, like I said, was pinned behind my back. So I took this free arm and I hooked it around his neck, because I knew if I yanked him close, he couldn't punch me no more. But he was way stronger than me. So I'm holding on. And when I felt him start to pull away, I grabbed a hold of his ear with my teeth. So I'm hanging onto his ear, and I got my arm wrapped around his neck, and I'm like hugging him as hard as I can. and he's like pulling away, and I was about to lose grip. So I started rolling. So I kept rolling and rolling and rolling while I was holding on to him, and I was holding on to his ear, and we're rolling and rolling until I thought he was dizzy. When I thought he was dizzy, I pushed him off me, and I jumped up and I went to run. But by that time, I had already shut my gate, so I'm thinking, okay, I gotta unhook this gate and then try to leap this little ditch over there to get across the park and run to those people at the boat launch. I jumped up and he jumped up a lot faster than I did. So it was just like, okay, I can't outrun him. He's right there, because there's no way I'm going to be able to get through my gate before he gets me. So I stood up and I was like, oh, so you want to square up with me now? I had to put on a game face. I literally had to put on a game face, and I was like, oh, so you want to square up with me? Have you forgotten I'm an 8-year trained fighter in kickboxing, jiu-jitsu? We can do this. So he's standing there like, look, I could see in his eyes, he was kind of like, uh-oh, you know. I didn't think about that, but him being a guy and him being stronger than me thought, oh, well, I got this anyways. So we literally squared up, and he comes running for me. And the only thing I could think of was like hit him with all the body weight and strength that you got. And I came running towards him, and I jumped up and I hit him in a jaw. And that was like the first time I had ever actually did the Superman punch the way it was supposed to be done. I hit him so hard that he dropped, and I was shook. I was like, oh my God, I just knocked him out. And then there's like a little voice in my head was like, run, bitch, run. So I turned and I took off and I flipped the gate. And I guess it was my adrenaline pump, because every other time I've ever tried to jump that little ditch from the road to the park, I've always landed in the ditch. But that time I leaped that ditch like a gazelle, and I'm running for my life. And I look over my shoulder, and he's like on my back. So I'm screaming. The people are still sitting at the boat launch just looking at me. And I'm screaming, please call the police, please call the police. I'm running across gravel, everything. Like I said, I had no shoes on. He had knocked me out of my Nikes. And when I finally got over there, I was like, please, can y'all call the police? And like, the police in the swamp are game warden. Game warden don't play. Like, they're not like normal PD. They do not play. To me, they're like SWAT. So the people were like, well, we didn't want to get involved. We don't want to get involved. I said, you don't have to get involved. Just call the police. You know, that's all I need is help. And then this one woman's husband comes up to me. He was like, that was amazing, that Superman punch. You dropped him. I'm looking at him like my face is swelling. My teeth are broke on the side. I got a black eye. My mouth is busted. And you're talking about, oh, that was crazy. And you're like, oh, man, high five. High five? Why aren't you calling the police? So one of the women gave me her phone, and I called the police, and they were like, well, where's he at now? I said, I don't know. He went underneath my carport on the side of my house. And she was like, where are you at right now? So I'm at the boat launch. She's like, well, stay there. We got officers coming. And right after she said that, they were already there. Like, they were there like this. It was and I heard them on the bullhorn or their speaker saying, stop where you are or we're going to shoot. So then a woman on 911, she tells me, she's like, you can go back over there. I said, but I'm scared. She's like, no, there's officers there. You're going to be okay. They have him. So I walk back across the park to my house. And they pulled him out the back, and they have this huge trash bag. He had my Chanel bags in there. He had my laptop in there. He had all my jewelry. He had like he literally went through my back. Well, it wasn't really a back door because my back door is kind of on the side. He went to the side underneath my carport and kicked in what's considered my back door. Went in and grabbed a trash bag and was just looting my house. And then they called him when he was running out and tried to jump the back fence, and that's when they called him because I guess he got hung. And they brought him out and stuff, and the paramedics were looking me over and stuff. And they said, show me all your injuries, because they saw my face and took pictures and stuff and the bruises and everything. And I had a knot on the back of right behind my ear. And the paramedic was like, I said, I don't know what this is, but it hurts. And she's like, man, you got a goose egg back there. She's like, did you lose consciousness? I said, I don't know. I said, when he pushed me off the step and I hit the pavement, I said, if I lost consciousness, I probably woke back up, because he was literally grounding and pounding me in the face while I was laying there and I was pent. So after all that stuff happened, the next day, one of his homeboys came over and was like, are you okay? He's like, man, you look messed up. He's like, I'm so sorry I wasn't around to help you. But I'm thinking to myself, you're like one of his best friends. Would you have really helped me, you know? So, but anyway, so he went around, he left, and then Tony's mom comes around. She's like, Shavonne, we got your mail. We got some mail over here. It came to the wrong address. I was like, lady, just leave me alone. I don't even want to talk to you. I don't want nothing to do with him, you, or his family. And then his father was going around the town saying they better tell that N-word that she better leave because gators eat bones and blah, 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 and she'll vanish. So I'm like, okay, well, I already didn't want to live in a swamp anymore anyways after that ordeal. So, okay, I'm moving. It's not a big deal. My lease was almost up anyways. So then I get a call from the DA's office, and they say, you know, we need you to come up here. The DA wants to talk to you. Like, he's a 2-time felon. For some reason, I just draw freaking criminals, or I guess. I know it's not funny. So I'm one of those type of people, like when I see someone struggling, I try to help them. Or I see the good in everybody before I see the bad in them. And I always feel like I can help them if all they need is love and all they need is someone to care for them, and they could be different. I'm one of those type of people. And even my daughter has told me several times before, you can't save everybody, Mom. You just can't. And sometimes you just gotta just let it go. But anyway, so I ended up going to the DA's office, and I was talking to her, and she asked me what happened. I told the DA, I was like, you know, I feared for my life. It was fight or flight time. I said I couldn't run. I explained the whole situation to her, and I said the last thing I wanted was for my kids to know I died by the hands of a man in domestic violence. And I said, not to mention the swamp is right there, and everybody knows gators eat bones. And I told her everything about what his father said around the neighborhood and stuff like that. She's like, no. She's like, 100%. She's like, that's what you need to do if it gets down to that and no one's helping you. She's like, the people at the boat launch didn't even come over and try to help you. I said, no. She's like, they didn't even call the police. I said, no. I said, they sat there and watched me getting beat in my yard, screaming for help, and then they did nothing. I told her I had to run across the park, and what they said when I got there, I don't want to be involved and stuff like that. She's like, none of them stayed to talk to the game warden. I was like, no, they left real quick after I handed that phone back. She's like, that's pitiful. And then she said, well, did you see what you did to him? And I was like, no. And so she pulls out a picture. She shows it to me. And his whole head is wrapped in gauze. She was like, I want to give you a high five. She said, because he deserved every bit of this. She's like, you ripped off half his ear. They had to stitch that back on. She's like, that punch you gave him fractured his jaw. And she said that they ended up having to take his appendix out because his appendix was ruptured. I don't know how his appendix got ruptured, unless it was like already about the rupture, because I never hit him in his body. I just punched him once in the face. But she said, but he was in the hospital for quite a while before he went to jail. And she said, you did what you had to do. She's like, don't regret any of it. She's like, he had no place, you know, putting his hands on you like that. And she said, well, don't worry about it. We're taking care of it. And there's also a protective order put against him. The state is taking over the charges and stuff like that. So after all that stuff happened, maybe like, I found another place within a week or so, and then I moved out of that town. It was just like, I was done, over with it. And that was the end of that relationship. And the crazy thing is, like, this dude tried to follow me on Instagram, and then I blocked him on that. And then he probably still follows my YouTube channel, but he's blocked on it, so he can't post on it. But what was it, like a week? I think it was like a week ago. I get this DM on my Facebook, and it's like late, maybe like 3 o'clock in the morning. He's like, what are you doing? I was like, and blocked. Like, why are you still trying to talk to me? Like, I haven't lived in Louisiana since, what, 2014 or something. I moved back to Texas. But yeah, I just want to tell this story because I want everybody to know it's not okay to put your hands on someone. It's not okay to think that you can just abuse a person and do whatever you want to them. If you're involved in a relationship where there's domestic violence, then there's always a way out. Don't be embarrassed. And that goes for men as well, men and women. Don't be embarrassed. Call somebody. Talk to somebody. I will also have the number linked down below of a hotline that you can call if you're in trouble or if you're in danger and you need help. And also, guys, I hope y'all are having a great day, and I will see y'all guys next time. Bye.